For over 2 decades, men's tennis revolved around 3 giants: Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic. Together, they weren't just champions, they were the defining figures of an era. Between them, they dominated every major tournament, every surface, and nearly every record in the sport. The numbers alone are staggering. A combined 66 Grand Slam titles, dozens of Masters, over 1,000 weeks ranked inside the world's top 10. They each held the world #1 ranking multiple times, traded historic victories, and pushed each other to the absolute limits of human performance. From the grass of Wimbledon to the clay of Roland Garros, from the hard courts of Melbourne to the lights of New York, they left no ground unconquered. Roger Federer brought elegance, precision, and artistry. Rafael Nadal brought power, grit, and unmatched intensity. Novak Djokovic brought athleticism, consistency, and mental resilience. Together, they formed the most iconic triangle of rivalry in sports history. Tennis was never just about who won, it was about who beat who endured, who adapted, who came out on top when everything was on the line. For years, fans and analysts debated the same question: who is the greatest? And the answer always depended on what you valued most: style, stats, slams, dominance, longevity. There was no simple answer, and there still isn't. But especially in the past 2 years, it seems like the broader tennis fan base is in A&R agreement that Djokovic is the greatest of all time. In 2022, Federer stepped away from the game. In 2024, Nadal followed. Only Djokovic remains, still chasing more history, still breaking new ground. Won the Olympic gold medal, goes toe-to-toe with tennis's most dominant and exciting talents like Kate Alcaraz and Sinner. But every fan has a different opinion on this. Fortunately, Nadal gave his answer on who he thinks is the best player of all time. When you've played over 1,000 matches in your career, not every opponent stands out. But for Rafael Nadal, 2 names were always there: Federer and Djokovic. Let's start with the numbers. Nadal and Federer met 40 times. Nadal leads their head-to-head with 24 wins to Federer's 16. In finals, the Spaniard holds a 14-10 advantage. On clay, Nadal was nearly unbeatable, winning 14 of their 16 meetings. But Federer shined on grass and hard courts, especially at Wimbledon, where their legendary 2008 final is still considered one of the greatest matches ever played. With Djokovic, the numbers get even tighter. Nadal and Djokovic faced each other an astonishing 60 times, the most played rivalry in men's tennis history. Djokovic leads it, 31-29. In finals, the Serbian edges Nadal 15-13. But when it comes to the Grand Slams, Nadal turns the tables. He leads 11-7 in major meetings and 5-4 in slam finals. So, on paper, Djokovic challenged Nadal more frequently, beat him more often, and pushed him to adapt again and again. Federer, on the other hand, was the first true obstacle in Nadal's rise, and the rival whose style clashed most naturally with Nadal's. Where Federer floated across the court with grace and precision, Nadal tore through it with raw athleticism and force. Their battles were not just about outcomes, but about contrast, the artist versus the warrior. Djokovic, meanwhile, was different. He came later, but stayed longer. He matched Nadal physically, mentally, and tactically. Their matches were often brutal, long, and intense. It was like watching chess played at 140 kilometers an hour. With Djokovic, the rivalry was about surviving. With Federer, it was about defining an era. 2 rivals, 2 stories, 1 question: who does Nadal see as the greatest challenge of his life? That answer is coming, but first, let's compare what they actually won, because legacy isn't just about who you beat, it's about what you accomplished. If head-to-head records tell one part of the story, Grand Slam titles tell the other. This is where each of the big 3 carved their legacy, not just by how much they won, but where they won. Roger Federer was the master of grass and hard courts. He won 8 Wimbledons, more than anyone in history. Djokovic has 7, and with a win this year, he can match the Swiss legend. Federer also took 5 US Open titles and 6 Australian Opens, showing his dominance on faster surfaces. But on clay, he struggled. Just 1 French Open title, and it came in a year when Nadal wasn't in his path. Rafael Nadal, in contrast, built a fortress in Paris. 14 French Open titles, a record that feels almost mythical. No one has ever come close to matching that kind of dominance on a single surface. While he only won twice in Australia and Wimbledon, he completed the career Grand Slam twice, proving he could win anywhere, even if clay was his kingdom. Novak Djokovic, though, was the most complete. 10 titles in Australia, where he was nearly unbeatable, 7 at Wimbledon, 4 in New York, and yes, even 3 at Roland Garros, the one place where beating Nadal seemed impossible. Djokovic didn't dominate one slam, he conquered them all. On paper, Djokovic has the strongest case, more total slams than either Federer or Nadal, wins on every surface, and the longevity to keep collecting titles even after the others stepped away. But greatness isn't just in the numbers, it's in the battles, the memories, the emotional weight behind every match. So when Rafael Nadal reflected on his career and was asked, "Who was your greatest rival and player?" he didn't simply point to the stats. He didn't say, "The one who beat me the most." He did give a Nadal-style answer. When asked who his greatest rival was, Rafael Nadal could have gone with the obvious choice, Novak Djokovic. After all, they played more matches against each other than any two men in tennis history. Djokovic won more of them, more finals too. He lasted longer, broke more records, passed Nadal in slam count. On paper, the answer seemed clear, but Nadal didn't go with the numbers. He went with the heart. Djokovic is the player I faced the most, Nadal said, but for me, my greatest rival has been Federer. It wasn't just about wins and losses, it was about when they met, how they played, and what those battles meant. Nadal's rivalry with Federer wasn't built in the late stages of his career, it began when he was still a teenager. When I first hit the circuit, Federer was already there. During my peak years, it was both Roger and Novak, but in those formative early years, Roger was always present, Nadal explained. Federer was already the king when Nadal arrived. Elegant, untouchable, dominant. Nadal didn't just face him, he challenged him. He disrupted the established order. Their early matches weren't just sporting contests. They were turning points in tennis history. Left-handed spin versus one-handed grace. Relentless intensity versus effortless fluidity. With Roger, it's clear. Our contrasting styles and approach to the game made him my rival, Nadal said. Their rivalry was about identity. They represented two completely different ways of playing tennis, and the world was captivated by the clash. Federer was the maestro, Nadal the warrior. Their matches weren't just physical battles. They were emotional events, filled with drama, respect, and legacy-defining moments. With Djokovic, things were different. Less about contrast, more about endurance. Two iron-willed athletes pushing each other in long, grinding, brutally intense matches. Nadal acknowledged that too. With Novak, it's been an incredible challenge. He's a player who has consistently performed at a high level and improved year on year. The stats prove he's the best, which means his tennis skills have been superior, and he's also managed to stay injury-free the longest. Let's make things clear for the die-hard Djokovic fans. It's not that Nadal dismisses Djokovic, far from it. He credits him as the most complete, the most consistent. But rivalry for Nadal isn't just about stats. It's about the personal journey, the way Federer shaped his mindset, his style, his entire path. In the end, it was Federer who marked the beginning of Nadal's legend, and that's why, even after all the battles, Nadal names him not just as an opponent, but as the rival of his life.